Hello, friends. Welcome back to Transcendent Astrology and Tarot. My name is Michelle Fondin. I'm an author, speaker, astrologer, and tarot reader. And welcome to my video on the full moon in Sagittarius happening on May 23rd, 2024. If you're interested in finding out more, please do stay tuned. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for subscribing below. Click on the bell, scroll up to all for all notifications. And thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. I do tarot and astrology readings. You can book that below at my website, michellefondinauthor.com. So the full moon in Sagittarius is happening at 6:53 a.m. Pacific time on May 23rd of 2024. I like anything Sagittarius, you guys. I happen to be a Sagittarius sun, so anything that's happening in Sagittarius for me is actually quite good. I love it when planetary happenings are happening in Sagittarius. Sagittarius, of course, is optimistic and expansive because the planetary ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter. Yes, and Jupiter happens to be at 29 degrees Taurus, and it is conjunct Venus. So let's talk a little bit about what is going on with Sagittarius, where the sun is. The sun is at 2 degrees, 55 minutes of Gemini, and the moon is at 2 degrees, 55 minutes of Sagittarius. When the sun and the moon are in opposition to one another at an exact degree, that means we have a full moon. This is called the flower full moon, according to the Farmer's Almanac. If you look at the chart, I'm going to put it up briefly just so you can see the chart. You can see that the moon is very much separate from most of the other planetary bodies, with the exception of Pluto, which happens to be the closest and the south node. But most of the planets are really at the opposite end of the chart. So the moon is kind of like a lone man just sitting there, a lone woman, since the moon represents feminine energy. It's just kind of sitting by itself in Sagittarius. So it is in opposition to the sun. It's in opposition to Jupiter and Venus, which are conjunct. For just a moment, let's go back to Sagittarius because the moon is illuminated here. We don't pay much attention to what's going on with the sun when it's in opposition to the moon, but the moon, since it's full, it is way more illuminated here during the full moon phase. Full moons, of course, happen once or twice a month. That's where we get the expression once in a blue moon, because sometimes there are 2 full moons in a monthly cycle. But this happens to be the only full moon in May of 2024. And Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign. It is the 9th sign of the zodiac. And as far as the fire signs go, it being mutable, it is the most advanced in the fire signs. What does that mean? Is that Sagittarius's role is the fully developed person looking to integrate into society. So that is why Sagittarius happens to be about long distance travel, about exploration, philosophy, law, religion, education in the way of higher education. And its ruler, Jupiter, is very similar to the characteristics of Sagittarius. The only difference being is that Sagittarius is freedom loving. Sagittarius likes its independence and individuality while it's trying to find its way in the world. Whereas Jupiter happens to be more about the staying power and the expansion. And so sometimes Jupiter can go into excess. So when we talk about Jupiter and Sagittarius, they have so many similarities, but of course there are some differences. Let's take that in opposition to the sun, which is at 2 degrees 55 minutes of Gemini. Gemini is also a mutable sign, but it's mutable air. It is ruled by Mercury, which also happens to be in Taurus. So we have the 2 planetary rulers of this full moon both in Taurus at this particular time. Now, Mercury is kind of far away from the other planets that we are speaking about. Mercury is sitting at 11 degrees Taurus, whereas we have Uranus, Jupiter, Venus, and the Sun between 23 degrees Taurus, and then of course 2 degrees of Gemini. So they're all kind of bunched together while Mercury is apart from them. Gemini is a mutable air sign. It is a more rapid sign. It's not about looking out into the world and getting to the bigger picture of things, but it's more about dabbling in many things. Being mutable air, it's fast moving, it's trying things out. It's equated oftentimes to the third house, which is about short distance travel, versus the ninth house, which is about long distance travel. So it's really when the person is first going out into the world and exploring their neighborhood, for example, just going right outside of their comfy environment and kind of spreading their wings and taking steps in other directions. But of course, with that Gemini energy, it's never staying too long in one energy. It's always constantly moving, changing, and not staying put for such a long time. So when we think about those energies, we're thinking about how this full moon is going to affect you, being that the moon is in independent and explorer Sagittarius, but the sun is in rapid moving mutable Gemini. But we'll talk about that after we talk about the planetary aspects as we look at which planets are aspecting this moon. And I think that is extremely important because of a special conjunction that we have that is actually happening hours before the full moon. Let's look at that right now. I'll go ahead and put that up on the screen. We have Jupiter conjunct Venus in Taurus at 29 degrees, and this is happening at 1:29 a.m. the same day on May 23rd. Jupiter conjunct Venus in Taurus suggests a period of expansion and abundance in matters related to love, relationship, beauty, appreciation of the finer things in life. It could be the expansion of money, which Venus also represents. And it's in its home sign of Taurus. So Venus is still in its home sign of Taurus, where it feels really comfy. Venus feels like she can express herself best in the sign of fixed earth Taurus. And when Jupiter comes to expand all that is good in Venus, it's great for love and money and finances. And I feel like this is just another beautiful expression of what is going on in the month of May of 2024, with so many beautiful conjunctions happening in the sign of Taurus. If you have not yet viewed the video that I posted for May 18th of 2024, please do go ahead and view that after this video. I'll post the link right there, just because that energy, even though it is separating by the time the full moon in Sagittarius is happening, it's still going on. That energy is still there, even though it's not exact, the energy is still there. So you can really see how there are so many beautiful aspects that have happened throughout the month of May. And I feel like this full moon is another example of this beautiful, expansive energy. It's just that with the moon energy, which the moon is a feminine energy, and it's about that introspection, about your moods, your feelings, your emotions, what's personal, what's hidden, what's on the inside of you, and that you're not always aware of. But of course, during the full moon, that is going to be illuminated. Now, the conjunction that's happening between Venus and Jupiter is in direct opposition to the full moon, to the moon, or the full moon, but it's also conjunct the sun in Gemini. So they're just a few degrees apart. The orb is about 3 degrees, but they are in different signs. They are in different signs. So Of course, Venus and Jupiter are in Taurus, whereas the Sun is in Gemini. But they are still conjunct. The way I experience conjunctions, the way I describe them to you, is when planets or planetary bodies happen to be sharing the same bed in the same bedroom. So the fact that the Sun is in Gemini just might be that, like, maybe the Sun is in a trundle bed and then Venus and Jupiter are in the same bed, but they're really close together. So those energies are still helping one another. And in fact, the Sun is shining a light on this Venus-Jupiter conjunction in opposition to the Moon. So what does that mean? That means that because the Sun is making the Moon full, that Jupiter-Venus being in conjunction with the Sun opposite the Moon, it is also bringing that energy. It's a tension, right? It's like pulling a tightrope. It's a tension, but it's affecting it, right? So the Jupiter-Venus conjunction is affecting the Moon. But I believe it's affecting the Moon in a very beautiful way because it's a positive conjunction. So what could this mean for you being in fun-loving Sagittarius, optimistic Sagittarius? Venus being a personal planet, Jupiter being the ruler of Sagittarius, this is bringing something beautiful to the inside of you. The Moon is your interior world. What could be expanding and growing? It's a lot of feminine energy here, expanding and growing on the inside of you, something that's beautiful, a beautiful feeling, a feeling of growth, a feeling of something taking root that you want to express. And I just find that this is such a good time for that personal interior transformation that is going to happen with something that you've realized that is beautiful about yourself that needs to come to the surface. We have another planetary aspect to the Moon that is actually helping with this. We have the Moon in Sagittarius that is sextile Pluto in Aquarius. Now, Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius. When a planet is in retrograde, it illuminates it a little more, it highlights it a little more. And since Pluto is the planet of transformation, and the Moon is sextile to Pluto in Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius that is retrograde is giving the Moon a helping hand for personal transformation. Now, this could be personal transformation in Aquarius on the outer world, right? Because Aquarius represents friendships, networks, the outer world, the society. And it's maybe you finding something beautiful inside yourself in the way that you would like to express yourself in larger ways, Jupiter, in larger ways to the outer world. Something that maybe you've kept hidden up until now, that you didn't have the courage to express, that you didn't have the courage to manifest in such a big way about you, about your feelings, about something Venusian inside of you. Now, that could be something as simple as changing your appearance. Venus and Taurus, changing your appearance, how you appear, your wardrobe, your hair color, a haircut, your nails, how you carry yourself in society. So maybe up until now, you're like, well, I just wore yoga pants or sweatpants and t-shirts, and that's how I presented myself in society. But for some reason, this full moon in Sagittarius that is in direct opposition to the Jupiter-Venus conjunction with the Sun shining on it, I realized Taurus, which represents beauty, right? Taurus season represents beauty, guys. All the beautiful flowers are coming to bloom. And it's like, well, I want to look more beautiful because that's how I feel on the inside. So instead of wearing sweatpants and t-shirts out into society, I want to present myself with the colors that I feel are on the inside of me. So maybe you go out wearing more vibrant colors. Maybe you go out wearing something that's more floral or beautiful or fashionable. So that is a more superficial way of explaining it, but it's not even superficial because it's an expression of how you're feeling on the inside. And if dressing more beautifully is something that's been hidden on the inside of you and it's something that really wants to come out, then that is the way you are going to express it. It could be something that's inside of you that wants a more Venusian expression into the outer world through the transformation of Pluto. And it could be something to do with money, how you spend money, how you make money, or how you go about investing your money. So it could be something about that. So think about all the things that are Venusian in nature and how maybe you would like to express that because you're feeling it build up inside of you and it's finally come to its fullness with the full moon. Now, the other aspect that I'd like to talk about with the moon in Sagittarius is that the moon in Sagittarius is trine Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. Now, Pisces being the 12th sign, it is about spirituality also coming to fullness. Because by the time you get to the 12th sign, it is like the last step of human development. If you think about the 29th degree of the 12th sign, is really getting close to that part of human development, which is a fully developed human. If you're talking about something that's evolutionary in nature, Neptune is also about becoming boundless without boundaries. It's the expansion of the imagination. It is about the dream state, and trines are easy. It's easy to do this. So it will be easy for you to find your inner feelings in the sign of Sagittarius about something beautiful and tangible about yourself that you would like to transform so that you can express it to the outer world and say, look at me, world, here I am. This is what I'd like to express about myself. I feel that the trine between the moon in Sagittarius and Neptune in Pisces is also about you finding that place within yourself that is more authentic because it's from your higher spiritual self that this will manifest. So as you come into the fullness of this expression of this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to present myself into the world. Because really, Sagittarius, even though it's not like Aquarius in the way of functionality of the collective, Sagittarius still has a very independent aspect about it. And Sagittarius is like, here I am independently finding my way in society. This is the beautiful expression of Venus conjunct Jupiter of this is how I will appear as an individual in society. And this is my most beautiful truth. This is my most spiritual truth. And here is how I am going to be from this moment forward. And this is a gentle transition. This is a gentle transformation. And the reason I say it is gentle is because we have so much feminine energy here. The moon itself being a feminine energy. Venus is a feminine energy. Taurus is a feminine sign. Now we do have the sun in Gemini, which is an air sign, and it is a yang sign. And I do know that Sagittarius is a fire sign and yang sign as well. But the thing here is that the sun in Gemini is going to help you perhaps make those changes more rapidly, even though it's going to be a gentle process. So whatever truth you find out about your inner feelings, your inner moods, about how you're really feeling inside about yourself and how you want to grow and transform and learn about yourself and your outer expression in this daily life, it's going to happen very gently. You're not going to have to force it. It'll come out the way it's going to come out. And it's going to be a very spiritual movement to the surface. And then Gemini is just going to take it along because the sun is traveling through Gemini and it's just going to take you along, and it's going to take you along maybe faster with that air sign for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks than would happen if the sun was in Taurus, for example. I do feel that with Sagittarius, this change that you're going to make will be guided by your intuition. Let's talk about maybe what other changes besides outer changes, such as the example of changing your wardrobe appearance, finding those beautiful colors that come out of you, right? Like I feel more Venetian, so I feel more bright and I feel more stylish now because that's really who I am inside. Like I only wore sweatpants and t-shirts because that's what all my friends wore. But now here is the expression of what I'm feeling. But it could have to do with your spiritual beliefs, your belief systems, your personal philosophy about life. So it could go very, very deep because of what Sagittarius represents and what Jupiter represents. So don't be surprised if you wake up and you're like, I don't believe this anymore. Or I now believe this and I feel like this is the right fit for me. You could also wake up with the inner feeling during this opposition with Venus and Jupiter and Taurus is that you wake up and you're like, I am changing my financial position or my status. And I believe without too much effort, it's going to happen because it's ripe. The full moon does represent ripeness. And so it just might be ripe. You're like, I am ready to have the full expression of what I'm capable of financially. And I just feel like I don't want to live in poverty anymore. I don't want to live in lack anymore. I want to live in abundance, and this is the way I'm going to live from this day moving forward. And it's really going to feel very easy for you, but it's going to come out of a very, very deep intuitive feeling, and you are going to have the support to help you with this. You'll have the support of Pluto, you'll have the support of Neptune, something beyond your wildest imagination, your wildest dreams. You will have the support of Taurus. You will have the support of Venus and Jupiter together, conjunct in Taurus. And you'll even have the support of the Sun, which in Gemini, it's like, okay, let's make the change. Let's make the changes. You want to make the change? Let's make the change. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the tarot cards have to say about this full moon in Sagittarius. Dear angels and guides, what does this audience need to know about the full moon in Sagittarius that is happening on May 23rd of 2024 at 6:53 a.m. Pacific time? Page of Swords, thirst for knowledge. This is a very Gemini card. You know, there is something to be said about Sagittarius also having a thirst for knowledge. It's different, right? Sagittarius's thirst for knowledge is about philosophy, law, spirituality, religion, higher thinking. The knowledge of Gemini is really about the newness, the novelty of learning. That Gemini might be really interested in like 10 different things within 2 days. So we have the Page of Swords, which I really do like. It is about exploring words, exploring communication, exploring things. So let's go ahead here. What else about the full moon in Sagittarius? We have the Nine of Swords, mental anguish. So, which is funny, it's also a Gemini card. Here I see the Nine of Swords being your inner mood, your inner feeling. The full moon can sometimes give us some deeper emotional reactions, if you will. And I would just keep your thoughts positive during this time. Try as hard as you can not to let your thoughts go negative, because this is really a positive time. This is not a negative time. It's very much a positive time. The problem is with Sagittarius being mutable, with Gemini being mutable, there are two sides of a coin, right? So there's the really positive side and there's the negative side, if you will. There are two polarities. And I would just say, try as hard as you can not to feel hopeless, maybe because the realizations that you're having with your feelings, your inner feelings here with the moon in Sagittarius about how you want to appear in the outer world, maybe it's just been something that's been suppressed for so long that you just feel sad about it. You feel upset about it. You're like, why did I let myself not be the authentic and true self that I am, that I feel, that I want to manifest out in the outer world? Why have I waited so long to do that? And don't get down on yourself because maybe you've waited, maybe you didn't see it, maybe you didn't know your true feelings about that. So here we go. What full moon in Sag? Ace of Swords in reverse, a lack of ideas. Ooh, interesting. Another Gemini card. Another Gemini card. It's also a card that says Aquarius for some reason, but they're air signs, right? We have got three swords cards, which is about air, which is about Gemini in this case, the sun in Gemini. I believe that might be what's happening on the surface, but that's not what this full moon is about. Okay, let me rephrase that. The Gemini energy, the air energy, the mutable air of Gemini might be what is happening on the surface, but that is not what is happening. Yes, the sun has entered Gemini. Yes, the sun is in 2 degrees, 55 minutes of Gemini. But the energy that's happening during this full moon, the emphasis is not Gemini. So if you are too focused on that back and forth energy of Gemini without the mind being stable, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Okay? You're totally focusing on the wrong thing. You've got to focus on your feelings, your inner feelings, your mood. You've got to focus on your intuition. Okay? And so let's look at the solutions. I can't believe we got 3 Gemini cards. Let's focus on the solutions to this outer Gemini energy. And I can understand it. The sun is strong, right? The sun is very strong. And the sun is also aspecting in direct conjunction with Jupiter and Venus. I get it. Jupiter is going to make bigger whatever planet it is near. And the fact that it's perhaps making the sun's issues bigger, yeah, that's not the direction of focus for this full moon. So let's see, what are the solutions here for the Page of Swords for the full moon in Sagittarius? The Empress, the divine feminine, Venus. Venus. That is the first focus, Venus. So when the Page of Swords is like, I need more knowledge, I need more ideas, I need more let me explore these ideas before I change, before I speak my inner truth. Like, I gotta just go over so many different ideas. And it's like, no. Point to Venus. What's happening with Venus? Venus is in Taurus, a slow-moving sign. It's happy. It's beautiful. It's all about Venus's gifts and beauty. So to counter the mind with so many thousands of ideas, go to Venus. What is Venus trying to tell you in Taurus? What is Venus conjunct Jupiter trying to tell you in Taurus? So what is the second focus for the Nine of Swords, away from the Nine of Swords for the full moon in Sagittarius? What is the second focus, please? Ace of Swords upright. Awareness and insight. I like this. Be aware of the brilliant ideas and the insight that the sun in Gemini is giving to you. Be aware of it, but don't go into anguish about it. Like, just be aware. Be aware. Be like, okay, the sun in Gemini is giving me these ideas and these thoughts. about my feelings, about my emotions, about how I would like to present myself to the outer world, maybe through change and transformation, but I'm not attaching myself to those ideas. They're just ideas right now. And Aces is about like the beginning of an idea. I'll jot them down. I'll jot down those ideas. I don't have to stick to any of them. I'm just gonna write them down. All right, so what is the solution for the Ace of Swords in reverse for this full moon in Sagittarius? Summer solstice, the pinnacle of success. The timing is a few weeks. It is a few weeks until the summer solstice. It is a few weeks until the summer solstice. I mean, that is reality. So the Ace of Swords in reverse with the lack of ideas, here is my thing. Moods, our emotions can sometimes cause us to wallow. Whether it's a good mood or a bad mood, it's like it can cause us to wallow in something that we might have to really chew on for a bit. And I have a feeling that if you're feeling the intuition, the impulse in your gut saying something needs to change so that I feel more myself, so that I feel more beautiful in mind, body, soul, so that I feel more beautiful and authentic from a Venusian standpoint, from everything that is Venus in my life, whether it's in finances or beauty or friendships or romance or love or partnerships, whatever it happens to be, I want to feel more authentically beautiful in those areas of my life, but I don't know how or what yet. Gemini, Sun in Gemini at 2 degrees is going to give you some ideas, but it may not be the exact ideas that you want right now or that you don't know how that's going to develop. Wait until the summer solstice to maybe take the action steps to start to make those changes. It's not a big deal. The energy is here and now to stimulate what is happening on the inside of you. It's going to stimulate that feeling, that gut feeling, the intuition, the imagination. It's going to stimulate all of that. And you're not going to lose the energy because you didn't jump on it the minute that the full moon happened. I feel like it'll take at least until the summer solstice or June 21st, or not sure if it's June 20th or 21st this year. I know we have a leap year, but it might not take until June 20th, and then it might take until June 20th or 21st to really come to the surface so that you can start making the changes that you would like to make. And just in the example of like financial security, right? Venus conjunct Jupiter in Taurus. When it comes to things like financial security, you want something to be more beautiful in your finances. You might get really anxious, 9 of Swords, about that because Ace of Swords, you have some ideas, but Ace of Swords in reverse, maybe you just don't have the right ideas you think. And so you're kind of like spinning your wheels a little bit. Let those ideas germinate. Let the feelings germinate. If the feeling is, I don't want to be poor anymore, if the feeling is, I'm sick of poverty consciousness, I want abundance in my life, if that is your thought at the time of the full moon and you feel it inside your gut and you feel it in your spirit, and you're like, I know this feeling is real. I am done with that part of my life. I'm done with being poor, barely making ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck. Like, I'm done with that aspect of my life. I want Venus to bring me more beauty in that aspect of my life. but I don't know how exactly. I don't know how I'm gonna get that started. I just know that's what I want. So let those thoughts, let those feelings germinate until the summer solstice, where it will grow. And then you will have perhaps the brilliant ideas to make it happen. And know that you have all the planetary support you need to actually make these changes happen. You just have to get emotional enough, find those deep, deep, deep emotions that are telling you this needs to change in your life, and let those feelings germinate, and you will have the support that you need to make the changes. So I hope this was helpful. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for subscribing to my channel below. Click on the bell, scroll up to all for all notifications. Thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. Thank you for sharing this video with others who like astrology, want to learn more about astrology. And thank you so much for your support of this new YouTube channel. You can buy one of my 11 published books. You can book a reading with me. All the links are below. And I will see you in the next video.